Focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
Welcome to the Wealth on the Beach podcast with Daniel Alonzo. As always, I'm your host, where we bring you some of the greatest minds. We're talking money, we're talking business, and we're talking health and wealth. We're talking everything. And today I'm really excited. I've actually been looking forward to this podcast for a long time now. One of my very, very good friends, just through the years, his name is Brandon Neal, and he's four kids, right? Couple boys, couple girls, built an amazing 7-figure cash flow business. But check this out, before he was even 30 years old, he's helped over 40,000 families with financial game plans, completed 3 Ironmans, which triathlons, and we're going to talk about that because that's just nuts. Built an outdoor hunting fishing agency business with proprietary software that allows outfitters and fishing anglers and adventure businesses to run the back end of their business more efficiently. First of its kind in the industry. So he's done so much at such a young age, and he's helped dozens of other people reach financial independence as well. So Brandon, man, from St. George, right? You're in St. George right now, Utah.
Yeah.
Why did you do a triathlon? I mean, that's just nuts, man. I mean, and what was it like? I mean, to train for something like that?
Yeah, first, thanks for having me on. I appreciate this, and good to be on with you. We've known each other for so long. You've been a great example and mentor of mine for many years, starting in my business 20 years ago, watching you and learning from you. But yeah, I don't know, man, the Ironman stuff, I guess what happens, we made some big accomplishments in business, and as we started to do really well, I started to pick up some old hobbies that I enjoyed. I've always liked endurance type sports, whether it be running or biking, not so much swimming, but, anything endurance, mountain biking. And I just kind of started to kind of get back into it. I actually got a mountain bike, started riding that, forgot how much I loved it. And then I really loved watching Lance Armstrong back then as he was winning the Tour de France, and just killing it, and inspired me and go, man, I'd love to be in that kind of shape, So I started road biking again, actually road biking for the first time. I'd mountain biked before, but just started doing some road biking, and just kind of fell in love with that. And then it was kind of a natural transition to do a triathlon because that's part of it, and I started doing some running and did some smaller triathlons, and the swimming part was a challenge for me because I'd never really swam a lot. I mean, I know how to swim, but I'm not a good swimmer. And it was just a challenge. I don't know. It just kind of got obsessed with it there for a few years. This was quite a few years ago. I mean, the last one that I did was in 2013 or 14. I haven't done any since then.
I mean, how long does it take to train for something like that, though? I mean,
if the full Ironman is a lot. And one reason I don't do it anymore is for me, it's just, if you want to do anything else, it's just too consuming,
Right.
It'd be 3-4 hours of working out a day. And then, I take one day a week and do like a 8 to 10 hour workout day, It's just,
wow,
not very practical, but looking back, I'm glad that I did it. I mean, it's kind of a cool thing to, know that you did it, I guess.
Right. Kind of like an adventure, right? It was an adventure. It was just kind of a time of your life to just go for something, kind of cool. Not a lot of people can say they've done that. So it's pretty awesome.
One of those, I guess, tests where you go, man, I can do anything, if I can do that, I can do anything.
It's pretty cool.
So I think for that reason, it was good.
So where did it all start, man? I always love talking about, where people grew up and, maybe a little bit about your childhood and things like that. I mean, where did it all start? Where were you born? Also, like, tell us a little bit about what your parents did, as well. Like, what did they do for a living?
Yeah. So I grew up in Salt Lake City area, Utah. My wife and I both did. We actually grew up in the same neighborhood. And so we've known each other for really our whole lives. We didn't start dating till later. I served a LDS church mission, and while I was on my mission, she kind of started writing me some letters, and we wrote back and forth. And we didn't date until after my mission. But anyway, yeah, I grew up there. My parents, hardworking people. My dad is a lineman electrician. In fact, he's retiring this month after, gosh, how long has he been doing that now for? I think 20 or 40, 45 years, something like that. So he's been doing that forever. Finally retiring from that. Just, you know, he's had a pretty good job, you know, if you're looking at jobs are concerned. He's done that and taught me how to work hard. He made me get jobs early on in life. When I was even in elementary school, I'd go work with my older cousins who had general contracting construction businesses, and I'd go be the grunt guy. And he would just tell me, just go, Brandon, just be the hardest working guy in the job. Doesn't matter what job it is, just be the hardest working, show your boss you're the hardest working. So that was ingrained in me, and I just did that. And I remember my cousin going to my uncle, because my uncle kind of helped him with some funding and stuff for different neighborhoods and stuff he was building. And my uncle's big into real estate and successful and all that. And he just said that, you know, Brandon, I mean, this is when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old, and go, man, Brandon is my hardest working guy. You know, so I was out working all these adults just because that's all I knew, you know, is how to work hard. I didn't know how to build a house yet or anything. I was still just a kid. But that was instilled in me very young. And my mom, same way. My mom's a hardworking lady, and she stayed home with us for the most part until we got a little bit older. When we got into middle school and high school, she started to get jobs, and then now does real estate herself and has done that since then, and just kind of on a part-time basis. But same thing, just instilled hard work, treat people well, you know, be conscious of the image you're putting out there in the world. You know, you want to be honest, you want to be, yeah, just hardworking, just a good human being. So really good parents, good siblings. I mean, all my siblings got good marriages and good families, and very blessed. And Lexi, same way. My wife, Lexi, her parents are incredible. Her family's incredible. So been blessed that way for sure.
And so what were you like as a kid? I mean, other than being a hard worker, I mean, were you a good kid? Did you get in trouble ever? I mean, did you get good grades? Did you like school? Did you ever go to college? You know, stuff like that.
So yeah, I'm the oldest of three, and I was a pretty good kid. I stayed out of trouble for the most part, you know, never did drugs, never drank a drink of alcohol. Fortunately got in the right group of friends, and just, you know, they never did any of that stuff. So I never did any of that stuff. So as far as that goes, yeah, I mean, pretty good kid, I think. I mean, I for the most part, listened to my parents, you know, I mean, no major trouble. I mean, of course you don't always listen to your parents, but for the most part, yeah, I was pretty good. I mean, there was one incident, like the only incident I can really think of is when I was in high school, went in spring break, went down to Moab, Utah, and some of the kids that we were with there were smoking pot and drinking and stuff. And we had some cops pull up into our camp, and I thought, uh-oh, here we go. Right. And my buddy and I, we weren't doing any of that stuff, but we were there. Right. I'm in trouble here. I thought my parents would kill me if I got caught with that. But luckily the cop just turned around and took off. I guess he just figured these kids are out, not causing any trouble. They're just doing their own thing. And
right.
Anyway, so really, yeah, I mean,
and so how'd you do in school? Like, what kind of student were you in school?
I was average, B, C plus B, mostly B's. I think I graduated like a 3.1, maybe 3.0, okay. Something like that.
Did you ever go to college? Did you graduate college?
I went to one semester at Utah Valley University, which is up by BYU in Provo, and hated every minute of it. I just felt like it was a waste of my time. I went because I thought I was supposed to go, right? Right. Only reason I went. So there was no purpose in me going other than I thought you had to get a good job, as we're taught.
And so what changed that trajectory? Like, what did you do instead of not going to college? What did you do?
Yeah. So fortunately, Lexi and I, we were just newly married, and I had a coworker of mine introduce me to this financial business. Right. And so I took this, we've been in it for 20 years now, and went down to a meeting in Sandy, Utah, took a look at it, and turned to Lexi and go, "What do you think?" And she says, "Well, yeah, let's do it." And that was it. And it was like an answer to prayer, because we were praying every day, "Hey, what do we do? What do we do?" I thought I was going to have to just go through school. And as soon as I found the financial business, I was like, okay, don't need school anymore. This is awesome. Told my parents like, "You're crazy. Keep going to school." I'm like, "No, I'm done with school. I'm going to do this full time and hit it." And we did.
And so what was it about the financial industry that kind of got you excited about doing something?
Yeah, well, when I saw it, everything made so much sense to me. I mean, I knew growing up, just watching my friends' parents, and even our family, aunts, uncles, whatever, that I saw the ones that were successful financially, and I saw those that were struggling financially. So when I went down to this meeting and they showed things, the concepts of how to invest properly and how to get the right type of insurance and how to pay off debt and then how to make and save a bunch of money, to me, I just thought every single human being in the world needs to know this stuff. This is a no-brainer. And if I showed people how to do this stuff, they would love me for it, and I would feel really good about it too. And so for me, it was one of those things where it was just a calling and a purpose almost. You're like, oh my gosh, God put me in this meeting to do this business. And that's why we did what we did, by the way, because I really, truly believed that, And that's what it was, man. I just saw that and saw a way to change people's lives. And I knew in turn, I would be happy doing it. It'd be rewarding.
And so did you get off to a pretty good start, or did you struggle at all? Do you remember ever struggling in the business at all? Or how was that first year for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I'm an introvert, I think, by nature. I learned on my mission, when I went on my church mission, how to, I guess, deal with rejection better and deal with people better that way. That helped me a tremendous amount when I got into the financial industry. So, I mean, I would say, I mean, even to this day, Daniel, I'm not naturally wanting to go out and just talk to somebody or start a conversation naturally. Now, I've learned that if I will go do it, that the reward of it is, oh, that wasn't so bad. And I actually feel good about myself. And that was kind of cool, meeting somebody new and getting to know them. So, my struggle, I think, was just, wasn't so much getting me to do it, because I'd learned that work ethic early on. But my struggle was, how can I get other people to do it? Which I don't think you really can. You got to find the people who are going to do it, right? But we got off to a pretty good start. I mean, we made 20 grand part-time first year learning. I was 22 years old. Lexi was 18. But our second year made 105 grand. Just turned 23 years old that year, and run our own schedule, and just, I mean, I thought, man, if I could make 50 grand a year on my own schedule back then, I thought that was flipping a win.
Why do you think you made it? Like, why do you think that you made 100,000 in a couple of years, and you see so many other people in any business, by the way? I mean, we could talk about real estate, we could talk about financial, we could talk about car sales, we could talk about any industry in the world. Why is it that so many people struggle? I mean, what do you think? What was the difference? Was it just work ethic, or is it something else?
Work ethic's one, but I think commitment's even bigger. We committed when we decided to do it. We decided we were going to do it. Now, that doesn't mean we went full time right away. We kept our jobs in the beginning, started part time, but our mentality was, now our financial business is now our baby. That is now priority number one. Our job is not priority number one. It's going to come behind our business. So I put our business at the forefront, and then I really paid attention to our mentors in business, mentors like Hector Lamarck, who's one of your great mentors also, right? So Hector Lamarck, I was a student of his. I just followed exactly what he said to do. I didn't try to change it. I made a commitment to fully engage in meetings, conference calls, listen to audios. I mean, I just didn't, I didn't try to test it out. Like, let me try this, see if it's going to work. And I made a decision. We were going to make this work. And I don't see that with very many people. Most people get in that I see, they try it out. And if it starts going well, then they would commit. The problem is it never goes well with that kind of commitment because they're not fully committing, you know? So you got to have that, I guess, that leap of faith. And for me, it didn't take much faith because there's so many people in our company that are successful that I just thought, well, if they all did it, it's going to work for me too. So for me, it didn't take that big of a leap of faith, but I guess for some people, it's still a leap of faith. It's a belief in themselves. You know, their belief in themselves is not where it needs to be to do that. But that's what we're here for, to help them get to that place, right?
And to get them to see that that anything is possible with the right focus, with the right work ethic, and with the right vehicle, by the way, because I think that's where people screwed up out there, is they try these little rinky-dinky little deals, right? And with no, you know, maybe no mentors, no training, no background. And next thing you know, they end up failing because they don't have the mindset right. Would you kind of agree with that a little bit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, not every opportunity is considered equal, for sure. And yeah, when that's another thing. When we saw financial services, I thought, oh, this is stuff that everybody really uses every day. It's big money stuff. There's a reason why banks have the big buildings and insurance companies have the big buildings. I mean, there's a ton of money in financial services, you know? So yeah, I would agree.
So you cracked $1 million in income in 1 year, by the way. So it wasn't like, you know, you made $1 million over all the, you know, before you were 30, you made $1 million at like, I don't know, what, 28 or something like that? You were
29 and
29 years old. Yeah, 26 and 29 years old. So, I mean, that's a big damn deal. I mean, that does not happen very often. And, you know, what was that like? I mean, how did it feel to make that kind of income at such a young age?
Yeah, you know, so first of all, I got to talk about this for a second, because the one reason that happened is because I kind of fully believed it was going to happen. And it actually, when I first passed my life insurance test, I passed the test. I show up at our training, our Saturday training. And after training, the guy who was training me, his name's Kurt Blackburn, said, hey, congratulations on passing your test. Here's a set of audios you need to buy from me. They're $26. And they were the Best of Hector Lamarck Volume 1. So I took it from him and opened it up, went in the parking lot after training, got in my little Mazda 626. These are cassette tapes, right? And I saw Overcoming Objections. It was a 2 cassette tape series. You remember, right? Okay. And I go, Overcoming Objections. If I could overcome every objection, nothing would stop me. So I pop in that tape and I spend the next like 4 hours listening to Overcoming Objections 2 or 3 times in the parking lot, taking notes. And within 10 minutes of listening to it, I kind of have this thought come to me, you're going to make $1 million a year at this thing. Now, one of my other leaders in the company, his name's Chris Howard. He had just went over $1 million in income like a couple months prior to that. So I saw this $1 million income. I saw Hector Lamarck was making like $2.5 million. And I'm 22 years old going, that is a crazy amount of money. But as soon as I started listening to Hector, I thought, oh my gosh, he is telling me exactly what to say and how to do this. I know I've got the work ethic. I'm going to make $1 million a year at this thing. So I called my mom right after I listened to that. I said, Mom, I'm going to make $1 million a year at this thing. And she goes, oh, that's cute, honey. That's great. Keep going to school, right? But to me, I'm going, I'm going to do this. So that's where it started, Daniel. And then, you know, so we made 20 grand that first year, 104, 183, 230, 280, 330, 660, and then $1 million. So 7 years in the business, went over $1 million in income. And you know, we were actually on a company trip in Puerto Rico when we went over. And what happened was, you know, the first, I'll say years 2 and 3 were my biggest workload years in my career. I mean, all I did was recruit, train, and build people. From there, you know, I started to get to more of being a coach, still a player in the field too, but also a coach of people, and really building and taprooting teams and building agencies and helping my people win. And as they won, we won. So what started to happen is we started to find people that we saw they had good credibility, good work ethic, but maybe they didn't believe in themselves fully yet. So we would work with them and help them build an agency to the point where they were starting to do some big production, and their belief level would go through the roof. And when their belief level went up and they went, man, I could become a regional vice president. Man, I can make a 6-figure income. That's when the magic happened. So we had like 5 or 6 direct leaders to us, all becoming regional vice president at the same time, all going for the $100,000 ring at the same time. And that just propelled our business from 330 grand to 660 the next year to $1 million plus the next year. And as they went out and did their thing, our organization just started to explode. And so getting that belief up with your people, in my opinion, is the biggest ingredient to success. If they believe it, they'll go for it.
So you basically, I mean, just through those first few years, I mean, your job was to bring them in, to recruit, to train them, take them under your wing, and develop them into independent leaders. That was your job, to coach them to believe in themselves so they could also duplicate what your behavior was those first few years.
Yeah. And, I also learned actually from Brendan Merton. You're good friends with Brendan also. And, one of the things that Brendan is really good at, in my opinion, is not looking too good. Brendan Merton's very good, but he doesn't look like he's very good sometimes, right? And the magic to that is you want your people to look at you and go, wow, that was good, but I can do it better. So I kind of wanted them to always go, man, I could do it just as good, or maybe I could do it a little bit better. So sometimes, leaders get frustrated with me and get into it with me a little bit. And I'd say, hey, listen, I think you could probably do it better. See what you can do, Yeah. And it was a challenge. So I think there's an element there too, to get that belief up, is if we're too good or we appear too pretty or fancy and they can't relate to that, they don't, I want my people to go, man, I can do it better than you. That's
right.
I think
it's interesting that you say that, because it just reminds me of my first great leader in my organization. His name's Frank Beltran. You probably know Frank and Irma.
Yep.
And it's interesting because I know that the reason why he succeeded in the business is because he looked at me. I was like 10 years younger than he was. So I knew that he was looking at me, this young punk kid that, was pretty good at this and having a little bit of success. Not a lot when he was following me. I wasn't having a lot of success, but I knew that he knew that, man, if this guy could make it, this was going to be a piece of cake for him, because he came in older, more experienced, had a lot more credibility. He was he knew how to close already. He knew how to overcome objections. He knew all that stuff. And so it's just interesting that, looking back, it's kind of the reason why we sort of made it here in a way, is finding how we found those first great people. Is they looked at me and they said, man, he's pretty okay, but we could definitely do better than him.
Yep.
And so does that kind of make sense?
I agree fully. Same thing here. Most of my top guys were older than me in the beginning, as I got more seasoned in the business, a little bit older myself, I recruited some younger guys, but yeah, many of them were definitely older than me. So I had the same.
And a lot of people that are young, Brandon, they're scared to talk to older people. But I think, based on what we're talking about right now, younger people, that could be life-changing for them to go talk to older people, because some of the older people could be the best people that come through in your organization, right?
Again, come back to belief. When I recruited my first people that were 30, 32, 35 years old, and I'm 22, 23, 24, my belief went through the roof. So I go, oh my gosh, right, I can recruit anybody. And it was because we had a good system. We had a good company, and I was fully committed, and they could see it in my eyes. They could hear it in my voice. It wasn't even, the words I said were one thing, but it was the tonality of my words, because they could tell. When you're convicted, you're convincing.
And so do you see some of let's talk about mistakes, right? So what are some of the other mistakes that you see people making in the business as they're trying to grow? And it could be any business, by the way. What are some of the mistakes that people make early on that really hurt their future?
Man, I think, I guess you could talk about a lot of mistakes, but I think one of the biggest ones is if somebody makes a mistake and they allow that mistake to set them back. I think mistakes are only really setbacks if you allow them to be. If you're learning from your mistakes, I don't know that they're necessarily mistakes, right? I guess, maybe if somebody's starting to have a lot of success and maybe they think they're done before they've arrived. That can happen, when times are really good. I mean, we've been here for 20 years. So we've seen the financial crisis of '08 happen, '08, '09. And, then we saw COVID earlier this year. And I think when things are good, make sure that you stay on your game and get all you can get, because, things aren't always as good as they seem, but things aren't always as bad as they seem, as we've heard before, one of our mentors say, right? Our Williams used to say that all the time. And so I think keeping a level head, sometimes I think when people think things are good, they're better than they maybe really are. And when they're bad, they're not as bad as they really think they might be. So everything is our perception. It's all mental.
I mean, it really is a mental game. I mean, this is a mental, my uncle was a baseball coach, and he actually coached high level baseball. And he used to always tell me that, there's a lot of people that throw 90 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And that's great. You throw them 90 miles, you have a great arm and you can throw 90 miles. That's wonderful. Doesn't mean you're going to make it to the pros though. The ones, he used to always tell me, the ones that make it to the pros are the ones with the mental, with the brains to fight through adversity. When you're 3-0, bases loaded, can you come back and throw a strike? Can you save that? When the game is on the line, will you be the guy that can finish the job? And that's the difference, because there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of pressure in business. There's a lot of pressure when, look, I mean, at one point in time, we all had to say, yes, I'm going to go full time, right? So we all had to say, all right, we're going to quit our jobs. We're going to quit our security. We're going to give up that steady paycheck, and we're going to bet our life on this thing that we don't know for sure. I mean, we have belief and we have commitment, but we didn't know for sure that it was going to work out for us personally. And there was one time that we had to say, hey, look, I'm in, man, I'm all in. And you got to be strong. You got to be mentally strong. I think that's why I always tell people, look, I mean, go read the book, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. I think it's one of my favorite books, just because if you start thinking like a champion, and that's why I want to kind of segue a little bit into, because I look at you, you're a champion, man. I mean, not only did you make millions and millions and millions of dollars in the financial business, but now you've kind of transitioned, right? You've taken the knowledge of building this other business and the knowledge of your first business, and now you're building a pretty successful second business. And so I want to, and that takes a lot of mental strength. It takes a lot. It's risky too, right? I mean, you've taken a lot of risk. You've invested a lot of money into this, new venture. And so tell us about that new venture. Tell us about, maybe the good and the bad, and, whatever you think.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, those that are in our financial businesses, that listen to this, I want them to know, I mean, how spoiled we are in that business, because we have no inventory. We don't really have to worry about employees. I mean, you might have an office manager or something when you're an RVP, but we get really spoiled. And I think that it makes us think we're better than we are, because we can just do so well. And so it's a phenomenal business to have, to build a great cash flow, to help hundreds and thousands of families. So what kind of happened with this new transition is my partners they're also involved with our financial business as well. And years ago, we all like to hunt. We love the outdoors. We like adventure. We love conservation, taking care of wildlife. And I'll talk about that a little bit here too. But we thought, man, if there was a way we could monetize the outdoor industry, it'd be kind of fun to have a business in the outdoor industry. So we started to put together this booking agency where we could book hunting and fishing adventures all over the world. People would call us up, say, hey, I want to go on a mule deer hunt. I want to go on a Alaska Dall sheep hunt. I want to go to Asia and hunt a Marco Polo. Where do I go? And we would have the outfitters that we have vetted that we could line them up with and make sure that the money they spent was spent on a good adventure where they weren't going to get taken advantage of. And also make sure that the outfitter had a good client coming in, and the client was going to be prepared with the proper gear and all that stuff too. So Just like we've all came from the financial world, did financial plans, so to speak. We came into the outdoor industry, and now we do outdoor adventure plans. So that's everything from when do you want to go? Here's the gear you're going to need. What kind of food preferences do you want to have? What kind of physical conditions do you want to have? Do you want to be staying in a tent? Do you want to stay in a lodge? What do you want? So they can come into our software, build a whole plan and say, I want to do this hunt this year, this one 5, 10, 15 years, maps out the plan. They can finance the whole deal, right? And then they can go. So yeah, we started that 8 years ago, and now we're here we are 2020, and we've done pretty well. We're really ready to just really launch it big here in 2021. And it also, the software we developed, you're right, we've spent millions of dollars in the software, a bunch of hours, and there's been many times over the last several years going, why are we doing this? We got great financial businesses, we're free. Why are we doing this whole new thing, right? But it's been an adventure, and now that we're where we're at, we're like, okay, we're glad we stuck it out. But man, Daniel, you're right. I mean, for anybody who thinks they can just go start a new business or something else, just get ready, because especially what we're doing has never been done in the outdoor industry, and it is risky because it's never been done. But you also have to see it. We see it. We go, this is going to happen. We're going to make it happen. And see, we have a big cause too. I mean, for those that don't hunt, they might think hunting is cruel, but it's actually because of people that hunt, the money that is generated from that goes right into conservation so that you can have better, healthier class animals and habitat and all that. And that's why we do it. We don't do it just to go kill a bunch of animals. It's not what it's about. And, we eat the animals that we kill, and it's clean protein. And I think it's important for people to understand that and to be educated on that, because there are institutions out there that are trying to get rid of hunting. Well, if you get rid of hunting, you're going to get rid of the great habitat and the good animals that you're able to go see. And I know it might sound kind of contradictory, but if you go to Africa where there's no hunting allowed, there's a lot of poaching. And where there's poaching, there are no animals because people kill off all the animals. So hunting is important just because we're human beings. And
so let me understand. So, okay. So because they don't have hunting, like real, like hunting licenses and hunting kind of, restrictions and things like that over there, they don't have that. Then people just go in and just kill whatever they want. And it's just an open season, 365 days a year. And they're wiping out classes of animals. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Exactly. I've got a neighbor who he goes to Ethiopia every year to help out with just some charitable stuff, and he'll have some of the people that are over there come visit him here. And you know what they want to do when they come here? They want to go hunting because they don't see any animals over there. They're in Africa and they don't see any animals. People think, oh, I'm in Africa, I'm going to see lions and giraffes and zebras everywhere. Yeah, in some areas. But in the areas like Ethiopia, where this guy was from, no hunting existed. So people just killed off all the animals. They just poached them all. And that's where there needs to be some sort of regulation. And it costs money to, track that stuff. And look, there's some areas that do a good job with regulation and some that don't do as good. But, that's what we're in business for, to help people, to help that whole cause, really.
Right. Just kind of its own ecosystem, and it just, the money flows in, regulation happens, animals are preserved, less animals are killed in the end of the day. But the truth is, I mean, let's just be honest here, right? You go to In-N-Out Burger, and again, I don't know a lot about hunting, so stop me if I say something stupid, but you go to In-N-Out and you have a hamburger. That's an animal, right? An animal got killed. So
Yep.
If you go out on a hunt and you kill an animal and you eat the animal, what is the difference of you going to eat that burger? I don't know. Am I just,
no,
I might be just,
Not only that, if you go to In-N-Out and eat that hamburger, most likely that hamburger came from a cow that was in a cage its entire life. And then they go to a slaughterhouse and, they go get slaughtered at a slaughterhouse. They didn't live a good life. So you look at wild animals, they live a great life. They live in the wild, right? When you kill them quickly and ethically. I mean, usually it's a gunshot or it's an arrow, and within either instantly or within seconds, they're dead, right? And that's a wild animal, and that's clean protein. And so like these animals behind me, these are big mule deer, and, you know, they lived a long life. And if I didn't kill them, they would have been, here's the thing, they don't just go lie under a tree and die. A mountain lion gets them, right? I mean, they die a rough death. So a death by a bullet or an arrow is not near as brutal as like getting eaten by a lion, which is what happens when they get old.
And what else do you get out of hunting? I mean, what other type of, you know, when you, I don't know, in my mind, and again, you get into more clarity, but in my mind, you know, it's an adventure. You're seeing parts of the land that you never would have saw. I mean, it's, you know, camping, and it's being with your, you know, family or relatives or friends, and having experiences. I don't know what.
Yeah. So I mean, really, you look at people that go to war together, right? And they go fight in battles together, and they build those strong bonds and relationships. There's some similarities between that and like hunting. You know, you go hunting with some guys. Like we went to Alaska. I've been to Alaska a few times, and this last August I went to Alaska for a Dall sheep hunt, and you get dropped off in a plane, and they fly off, and you were in the middle of nowhere with you and your buddy, right? And so my buddy, his name's Leopold. I hunted. This is the second time I've hunted with him up there. And you might only be with him for 7 to 10 days, but you become friends and like brothers over those 7 to 10 days, because you're living in the middle of Alaska, you know? And so, yeah, those kind of relationships and bonds are just awesome. And, you know, I mean, you're doing some dangerous, adventurous stuff sometimes. I mean, you're going through these deep rivers, you're walking across these ice cold rivers, and sometimes you might fall in, or you might, you know, you're walking up these mountains with big cliffs, and, you know, injuries can happen, and, you know, you're careful, and, you know, we're pretty safe, and we can keep ourselves safe for the most part. But my buddy Brian, he just went up 2 weeks ago, and they dropped him off in some choppy waters in Alaska. He was up there hunting Sitka deer and fox. And when they dropped him off, the waves were super rough. And he went to jump off onto the beach, and he broke his foot and fell into the water, 38-degree water, you know. And he's pretty tough, and he laughs about it now. But, you know, that's how his hunt started. And then he still hunted his hunt.
Wow.
He still did the whole hunt, and then came home and goes, yeah, I think I broke my foot, you know. So he just kept his boot on the whole time. So, you know, it is adventure. And, you know, we're not just going to do hunting and fishing, but we're going to do side-by-side stuff, mountain biking, alpine skiing, all that stuff, you know, because we want to provide people with these type of adventures and experiences. I mean, if it's not about relationships and experiences, why are we doing it? You know? Exactly. So we want to provide people those world-class adventures. And if they don't want to be extreme, they want to go and stay in a lodge, we have that too. You know, great meals, great lodging. You go hunt for the day, you come back. You go fishing for the day, you come back. You go snowmobiling for the day, you come back. And
well, that's what I did. A couple of months ago, I went on Alaska, deep sea fishing in Alaska, and it was for salmon and halibut, and it was unbelievable. What an amazing adventure! We stayed at a lodge. It was great. Went in, went out, had all day fishing. But I think what you just said a couple of minutes ago kind of sums it up: is that you bond with these people. I mean, these are relationships that you're building, and it's not just about, you know, killing the fish. Now, again, we ate all the fish. I brought back 50 pounds of salmon and halibut. And again, I would have either, you know, fished for it myself, or I would have went to the little restaurant down the street. Either way, that fish was killed, you know? So, and so it was incredible. I play golf with the guy now. One of the guys that I met over there, I play golf with him now, and we're like the best of friends now. So it's like people don't realize, not just going out and killing, you know, for me, fishing, that was not what it was just about. It was about the adventure. It was about the fun. It was about the relationships I was going to build.
Amen. No, absolutely. That's the best part, right? I mean, killing is like one little piece of it. And it's not the actual kill that's the best part. It's the whole thing leading up to it. And after that, it's the whole deal. Yeah, for sure.
So I want to kind of veer off to another area, and just kind of like that, you know, because you do a lot, man. I mean, you have couple of very successful businesses. And of course you have 4 kids and you have a wife, and like, how do you balance all that, man? I mean, what advice would you give to people with families that are also ambitious people? You're an ambitious person. You're a motivated person and wants to achieve and make progress. And, like, how do you keep all that together as a family?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I struggled with that a lot earlier on, and I still struggle with it today, to be honest, sometimes with balancing. I don't think there really is balance. I don't really believe in that. I think that's a bunch of hocus pocus. But, obviously, yeah, the important things in life, your relationship with your spouse and your kids is so important that comes first, and that you put your priorities in the right order. And, there's actually a book called The 4-Hour Work Week, if anybody wants to read that, but it's a great book, and a guy named Tim Ferriss wrote it. And he talks a lot about we got to think out of the box. I mean, most of us, myself included, come from a 9-to-5 type mentality, and we think we got to put in 8 hours a day, and that isn't necessarily the case. There might be a season in your life where you're putting in a bunch of time and effort. But what I wanted to do is, when I started my financial businesses, I wanted to have a foundation set where I had a cash flow, so that if I didn't show up for 6 months or a year, 2 or 3 years, I had a cash flow coming in, right? I could run that business 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week, which is what we've done the last 10 years, by the way. And so that's been a big way I've been able to have the kids and spend time with them, and have another business where, started that. Because we have businesses that don't take 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week to run, because we've hired and trained and developed people to help us run them, and found the right people and put them in place. So I think, Daniel, and I'm not an expert at this by any means. Like I said, I'm trying to figure this out still. But I think being willing to think out of the box, what are you doing that's effective? Just because it takes a lot of time doesn't mean it's important. And just because it's important doesn't mean it's got to take a lot of time, right? So you got to identify the 20% of things that are getting 80% of the results. And then you also got to identify the 80% of things that aren't getting you the results, and kind of be able to get rid of those and just get rid of them. Sometimes that's hard to do, because if you're like me, you feel like if you're not working, you're being lazy. And I think we got to be careful with that, because I know I am not lazy. Daniel, you are not lazy, But sometimes when we're not doing anything, we feel like, oh man, I'm being lazy. Well, are we being lazy, or are we giving ourselves a chance to think and to refocus and to be more disciplined and more, I guess, efficient, And so again,
or just be in the moment with your kids,
Amen.
It's like, I used to do a lot of, let's go to the park, like I mean, my kids were little. Now they don't want to go anywhere with me now, because they're 14 and 18 now. So it's hard to just even get them to, watch a movie with me, So, but but when they were young, man, I mean, all through the early days of their life, I mean, we really made sure that we took them to the park, after fly out. That was like kind of our month end, we'd always go to Disneyland and just take them places. I'd always be the dad to go to the fair, but we would take them on like Monday. I would take them out of school. My kids are straight A students. I mean, they don't, they did just fine. And I took them out of, I can't tell you how many days I took them out of school so we could do fun stuff, right? Yes. And I feel like that's what you were saying. At least what I got from it was, you got to be creative. When my son was super small, when he was just born, basically, we would keep him up till midnight. And people would go, how could you, why would you keep your little baby up till midnight? We're like, because dad don't get home till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night sometimes, because he's out in the field closing, And so I had to do what I had to do. We had to, now, does he remember that we kept him up till midnight? Absolutely not. But for me to bond, to create the relationship with my son, to be that dad, there was stuff that we had to sacrifice and figure out, right? And get creative. So is any of that making any sense to you?
Absolutely. I agree 100%. In fact, it's funny because this year we started homeschooling a couple of our kids. And that's been different, right? Because you think, oh, they got to go to school for however long it is a day, 7 hours a day. I mean, our homeschool kids are done with school in like 2 hours, 2 hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we're okay. What are we doing with our lives? Right. We just got to, we got to think out of the box. We got to be more efficient. And same thing during the week, right? Let's go do stuff during the week. Let's not go on the weekends when everybody else is out doing it. Let's go on the less busy times.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't ever go to an amusement park on Saturday. I mean, we hardly ever go to the mall or anything that would be crowded during the weekend when everybody's there doing it, because it takes too long, right? Yeah. Which is less efficient. So go on Monday morning when nobody is there and it's more efficient. You get in, you get out, you're able to do other things that you want to do. So anyways, man, so what, and we're kind of wrapping up here a little bit, but I always like to ask, a couple of, last questions here and like what would you say? And I know you mentioned the 4-hour work week, but I mean, ultimately, what would you say is one of your favorite books of all time?
You funny, you mentioned 177 Mental Toughness Secrets to World Class. That is probably one of my very, very favorites. But anything Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil has got to be one of my very, very favorites. I've just recently been reading How to Own Your Own Mind by Napoleon Hill. Great book.
By the way, Sharon Lecter, make sure you follow her and let her know, because she's a friend of mine. So I actually went to her house to do her podcast about a year ago or so. And so, yeah, really wonderful, wonderful, nice lady. So make sure you Instagram her and say, hey, Sharon, me and Daniel talked about you. And we were talking about how much we loved your book. And we were talking on the podcast. So she'll love that. But anyways, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, I'll do that. Anything John Maxwell. I think John Maxwell's leadership books are really good. Some of the newer stuff. I mean, I love all Grant Cardone's, stuff, 10X and, just all that kind of stuff is all good. But I don't know. I mean, I think anything that helps you with leadership, mentality, thinking is good. I do a lot of audiobooks, just because I like to when I'm working out or on a bike ride or to and from, in the car. Just always have something playing that can, all the podcasts today.
It's amazing though. Sorry to cut you off. But it is amazing to me how much content there is available that we didn't have, by the way, growing up. We didn't have all this content. And it's amazing to me because I'm like you, I'm like the audiobooks, I'll do YouTubes, I'll do podcasts, stuff like that. So do you have a podcast that you like to listen to?
Oh man. I mean, gosh, yours is good. Ed Milet's is good. I mean, God, what else do I listen to? I listen to quite a few, there's quite a few that our church does that I listen to quite often. Awesome. See what I've got, some subscriptions. Rolling Bones has one. We have one, right?
Okay. All right.
What else do we have here?
Do you have a favorite movie? Anything like, are you a movie watcher at all? Or
I love the movie Miracle. It's one of my favorites. Okay. I love all of the Mel Gibson, Patriot, Braveheart. I love those type of movies. Dumb and Dumber.
So you consider yourself a patriot then, huh? I mean, do you love America?
I love America. Absolutely. Yeah, and, for sure.
Our next podcast, we're going to talk about how much we love America and how these quack politicians are screwing up America. We'll talk more about that next time, but we will have another podcast for sure. Cause it's crazy. Like all I keep thinking as I'm listening to you is like, me and you have gone through the exact same trek of the success cycle, right? We came in, you were 22, I was 21. We got off to a decent start. You got off to a way faster start than I did. But we both have done pretty decent in the industry. But the truth is, like, I mean, all the same books we read, we had the same mentors. We were disciplined, right? Work ethic was huge, right? All these different similarities. And you wonder why some people make it. And that's kind of, I mean, honestly, this podcast is really about trying to figure out, I'm just trying to dive into the people I'm talking with, I'm trying to dive in their brains a little bit, swim in there a little bit and go, all right, why are they different? And it's a same story almost every time, just different human beings. Yeah. And so, okay, favorite food?
Oh man, I love food. I don't know if I have one favorite. It's hard to pick, man.
So we're gonna go have lunch right now. Okay, Mexican. So if we're gonna have lunch right now, we're gonna go have Mexican. Okay, cool. Sure. All right, good. How about ice cream or cake? A good steak. Okay, that's good. Ice cream better than cake, then? Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely. Lexi and I are crazy. I will go get those huge sundaes, the big ones, and I'll eat the whole flipping thing, man.
Oh man, I know. I am a ice cream addict. I mean, honestly, like I have to not have it in my house though. I'm like, I don't buy it at the store. So I'll do it like as fun, but I don't, because if it's in the house, man, we'll demolish that thing, man. The family will demolish that, like right out of the carton. We'll just knock it out right out of the carton, man. And it's like, it's unbelievable, man. This is really cool. Brandon, I mean, this is probably one of my favorite podcasts. I'm not even kidding. I mean, I think number one is because, you know, it's fun to see your friends become successful, right? I mean, it's fun to see. I remember being in the airport, we were going to somewhere and, you know, we bumped into each other and you said, hey, I heard Hector talking about you and I've been listening to some of your stuff and this and that. And I was like, I was so happy that somebody was actually trying to pay attention to this stuff. And you were so serious about winning, you know, you were so serious about trying to become a master at your craft, which you ended up becoming. And it's just so much fun to see, you know, you and your family do so well, and your other business do so well, and your original business do so well, and everything. It's just fun to see you successful today after all these years, man. And I'm glad that I got this opportunity to hang with you, man. So, any last words, man, that you'd like to tell anybody about anything? Because like I think some people might want to get involved in like contacting you. So give us some websites, maybe your Instagram handle, because I know people are going to want to go on adventures with you. I know I'm going to do one with you next year. Me and my son, we're going to figure out a time to do that. So I am going on the adventure of my lifetime. All right. So sometime next year. But then also I know that you obviously still run your financial business and you're always looking for great people that are wanting, you know, some people might be out there going, hey, I know where Utah is and I'd like to be a part of this dude's business. And I'd like for him to mentor me somehow. And, you know, how do we do that? How do we get a hold of you, man?
Yeah. So a couple things, the Real B Neil on Instagram. You can look me up there, SNSD Nils on Twitter, and then rollingbones.com. If you want to check out our software there, we can set you up with a dashboard there. And if you're interested in any outdoor adventures type things, and reach out to me, direct message me, whatever. Happy to help you in any way. And Daniel, I'll just say, you know, it's an honor for me to have you invite me on here. You are right. I mean, our very first company convention, 2001, 19 years ago. You believe that? Almost 20 years ago. I was sitting, I can't remember if I was sitting behind you or in front of you, but I was right there. And it was at Hector Lamarck's breakout. Hector Lamarck and Chris Howard were on stage. You spoke at that. And I saw this young, I don't know how old you were then, probably 25, 26 maybe. And just this guy get up and speak. And then, oh man, this guy's Daniel Alonzo. He had this big ring on his finger and I got to pay attention to him. And, you know, I remember over the course of the next couple of years, you were doing 10, 15,000 personal premium. I go, man, how are you doing that? And you'd give me some little tips and I'd go home and I'd implement them and they'd work, you know, the way you were getting your referrals from the beneficiaries, the beneficiary contact referral system that everybody thinks is new. You were doing that way back then. Right. And, anyway, man, I appreciate you and you helped us out more than you probably realize. And what a great thing you got going here with this podcast. And hopefully people are they're not just listening to it. Hopefully they're actually taking the information and applying it, right? If we don't go apply this stuff, then it doesn't do us much good. So great information. And you've been a great mentor to us. So appreciate you, man. Thank you.
You rock, brother. Well, I look forward to a great 2021 for all of you. Make sure you go follow Brandon book one of those adventures. Make sure that any content he puts out, man, just devour it. And he really is the real deal. I don't ever put people in front of you guys that are not, you know, some of the greats. And this guy is one of the all-time greats. And so make sure that you devour his information. Everybody, just make sure that you continue to dream bigger than ever. Get after it, but also do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.